All right, good morning. Good morning. For those who don't know, today we're going to be talking about Seller Shield, which is offered through ZipForms. I think this is definitely a tool that was for sure needed. I don't know how many people took advantage of the e-signature seller's property disclosure previously that was offered through ZipForms. That was always available, but in my opinion, if you DocuSign that out through ZipForms, it was very clunky and hard for sellers to navigate on their own who aren't exactly tech savvy. And then also, in general, we always have a hard time with sellers going through that property disclosure and filling it out accurately and correctly. Even when you're doing it in person or giving them the paper copy and letting them fill it out and then giving it back to you, I always find myself going through it and helping them fill it out in its entirety and correcting, what they did wrong. So this tool is something that now the sellers have the opportunity to go online. They go through a scripted, prompted program that makes sure they fill out every single box in its entirety and also appropriately. So with that being the case, I'm going to share my screen with you guys here right now, and then we're going to watch a short introduction video about it. And then I'm going to jump into ZipForms and show you around a little bit on how it works. So hopefully you guys see my email screen right now. I'm going to jump over here to the video and we'll get it started.
Seller Shield free online disclosure process is trusted by hundreds of thousands of agents and sellers nationwide. Here's how it works. Invite sellers to disclose in less than 90 seconds and let the Shield family guide your clients through the forms so you don't have to. The Shields help you fulfill your fiduciary duty by educating home sellers on the importance of accurate disclosure and the risk involved in the process. From there, the client enters the interactive disclosure forms and are provided our smart seller tools throughout. The tools include legal tips and an instructional video that provides straightforward advice on how to accurately disclose and prevent mistakes. Home sellers are guided through each question with definitions, helpful tips, and example answers. And our expandable fields allow them to disclose as much information as needed. During disclosure, sellers have the option to purchase home sale legal protection, which provides them peace of mind with up to $20,000 of paid legal representation by experienced real estate attorneys in the event of a claim after the sale. When finished, you and your clients will receive fully complete, custom formatted PDFs. No more hassling clients about incomplete disclosure forms. Manage your listings from your user-friendly dashboard. It's fast, simple, and easy to use. Save time and prevent legal issues for you and your clients. Sign up for free today.
Alrighty, so that's, Seller Shield in a condensed version. And again, this to me is a great improvement over what was previously offered through ZipForms, and very important in today's market where a lot of times home inspections are completely waived. Buyers are completely relying on what's put in the property disclosure. It's always a big liability for not only us as listing agents but the sellers, and it's very, very important that our sellers are filling this out in its entirety and accurately. So this program helps us with that. I created a test transaction here in ZipForms, and we'll walk through where you go to get started with one of these documents. So you want to go from your transaction summary to your documents tab. And in here, they created this new little icon called disclosures. You click on that, and that's as simple as it gets. You can import lists of transactions from your ZipForms account. And then you can start sending out the disclosure. So we're going to click through here. Going to click the 123 Main Street test. Continue. Fill out my information just so that we can see how it comes through in the email and what it looks like in the eyes of a seller. So not only do you get the seller's property disclosure statement, they also offer the lead-based paint disclosure if you need that one as well. So like they talked about in the video, they do offer levels of protection that you can either pay for as the listing agent as a gift, or sellers can pay and elect on their own. This is what it is, up to $20,000 in legal representation for 1 year after the closing, 2 years after the closing, or 3 years after the closing. I will say I read through the terms and conditions of this, and I would kind of tread lightly on recommending maybe these or opting to purchase one of these, because in the terms and conditions, Seller Shield has the sole ability to select your representation. So you as an agent or them as the sellers do not get to pick their legal counsel. I don't necessarily agree with that. So I would select no protection.
Brooks, what if they, okay, even if we select no protection, it says that they're still going to send an invite. Does that mean they're sending an invite just for these two documents, not an invite to register for the protection plans?
So that when I go through it here on my end, that gives me the opportunity as the listing agent to purchase that protection for the client. Again, you can do that as a gift. When I send out this email, you'll see, I'm going to go to my dashboard here real quick and show you what my dashboard looks like. I've been testing this out and tried it out. But when they go into their email, it's going to prompt them on their own side of things to either elect that or dismiss it if they don't want it as well. But they still get the property disclosure statement and the lead-based paint and have to, it's just an offering for them to purchase if they so choose.
So let's just say they purchase it. We don't know about it, but they purchase it. There's nothing in there that states that our E&O insurance cannot kick in because this Shield platform is picking representation, correct?
I don't believe so, but I just did a glossary kind of overread of those terms and conditions, and that was right there at the top. And once I saw that, I was like, I don't know if I'd select that, because personally, I would love to pick my own representation. Who knows if Seller Shield has good real estate attorneys in this area that they know of. Obviously, we all have our opinions on who's better for that job. And personally, I'd like the choice of picking my own. So getting back into this, I'm going to exit out of my dashboard and get into my email and show you guys what it looks like from a seller's standpoint. So you get a Seller Shield email, and you just simply, as a seller, click through Start My Disclosure Statement. You got to confirm the property address information. It's gonna give you some standard notices here. And this is where they get prompted again as to whether or not they want to, elect to have some of these levels of protections. We're going to decide later, and we're going to start going through our disclosure. So it's the, standard PA, seller's property disclosure statement. You scroll down and now it just gives you the check boxes. And anytime you hit yes for them, you have to mandatory explain later in the following box. So which is really nice. And then when you go down to the bottom, if you try to save and continue and you don't have it filled out in its entirety, it won't let you progress any further throughout the disclosure. So, I'm not gonna obviously take the time to go through this whole thing and fill it out. I just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of what it was all about, what it offered. And I think it's a huge waiver of liability and risk on our end on getting our folks to sign these and fill out these disclosures properly. They have to click through all those boxes, teaching them essentially how to fill it out properly. And as they're going through, they have legal tips and options to help them answer any questions they might have about the disclosures. At this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it over to you guys for questions, and we'll go from there. Anybody have any questions about Seller Shield and how it works?
Brooks.
Does anybody?
Brooks. It's Sid.
Yes.
So I assume when that's all completed, it comes back to you as the listing agent and you print it. And when you print it, it prints as a standard form.
Yes. So it comes back to you as a PDF signed by the sellers. And then also because it's done through ZipForms, it should go right back into your ZipForms account signed when it's completed. That's what the representatives from Seller Shield have told me. And I haven't filled it out in its entirety and seen if it got sent back yet, but that's what they're saying it does. Has anyone else used the previous ZipForms e-signature seller's property disclosure and had their sellers fill it out electronically and can tell us about that experience?
And I do. We use it electronically. And some
Yeah.
sellers fill it out with no problem. Some sellers, because you can't really indicate which one is required because it depends on the answer. So some, we just had it happen yesterday. The seller skipped over the entire form because it was not prompting him as a requirement to fill out each piece. So, when we got all the documentation back, we recognized that that was not filled out. So we had to send it back and explain to him that every line item had to have something, yes, no, or unknown.
Right.
But for the most part, we don't have too many issues of having them fill it out. Usually it's just, it gets missed the first time because they are literally just waiting for the next button, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not really reading everything.
Sure.
And then we usually have to send it back out.
Do you have any issues with people just checking yes for things that apply and then not checking no or unknown and non-applicable? Like technically, the seller's property disclosure, if it's no, you got to check the box no too. So for plumbing, for example, if you have copper plumbing, you hit yes and then no to the rest, or unknown or non-applicable in those situations. But a lot of times sellers just simply check yes for the box that they have and let all the other ones left blank.
I mean, I would say it's a mixture. We have those personalities who they are checking every single box because they're like, oh crap, this has got to be done correctly. And then we have people who skip over, they just mark the yes or they just mark the no.
Sure.
But I would say, I don't know if Kyra, I think Kyra is on here. Kyra, you probably see more of it coming back than I do. So what are your thoughts on it if she's still here?
I'm here. Hi. I don't know. I think you explained everything pretty well, Stacy, of what we're seeing. Some people just skip through, other people, I have to resend it back out and just kind of coach them through what's expected and what needs to be filled out and all of that. So it just depends on the person. And then we have those people that we sit with too and walk them through it and go through line item by line item. But if we can do it electronically and kind of coach them of how to do it, it works out. At least the second time we send it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, hopefully this will save you guys some time and skip a step for you, because they can't simply just skip through. They must fill it out and check whatever boxes are needed. So yeah, guys, even if you guys are doing just the paper version and giving those to your sellers to fill out handwritten, I encourage everybody, in this market, double and triple check your seller's property disclosures to make sure they've filled them out properly. A big part of the disclosure that a lot of people fill out incorrectly is the appliance kind of section in the back that some people think is just simply a checklist of what's at the property, but it's really a checklist of whether there's any issues with those appliances at the property. So make sure when you get those back, pay attention to those sections. Anybody else have any questions at this point? Uncle Tim, any comments, thoughts?
No, good job, Brooks. Thank you for the good next subject. Or what is the next week's call? Is it going to be on that buyer agency form with you and Kong, or?
Yeah, we can do that next week. Yeah.
Or did you have something else scheduled?
I have that, and I also wanted to talk about door knocking because the weather's getting better, and I think that's a great way of prospecting here in the spring.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we can do both those subjects next week, because I don't think either one would take that long. Kong, are you all right with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Dad, any comments? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this stuff is so important to us. I know it's a lot of details, but boy, there is a lot of onus on us right now with all of this waiving everything. The more you protect yourself, the better off you are, because somewhere along the line, somebody's going to get upset when something happens that they didn't know about. And even though they waived it all, it's just the way the world works. So the more due diligence you can do to protect yourself, the better off you are.
Just one little final thought too, in reference to things that are changing rapidly, would be the interest rates. And for those that are experiencing that difficulty with their buyers, just remember, we could always go back to a 3, 5, or 7 year ARM. So if you check with your lenders, as these rates have quickly gone up, look at a 3, a 5, or a 7 year amortization rate, or a adjustable rate mortgage, because as we're trying to control this inflation, once the inflation's controlled, if it does put us into a recession, they're going to lower the interest rates to get us out of the recession. So if somebody's in a 5 year ARM, they might be able to get a little bit better than what the fixed rate is right now, and then take advantage of a refi if that happens, because we're in uncharted territories this time. So it's just something to think about, that if your buyer all of a sudden doesn't qualify for the fixed rate, look at a 5 or a 7 year ARM if they still have them. We need to check with our lenders on that stuff.
I have one quick question as it relates to the disclosure. Is anyone using any extra form or statements, some kind of verbiage that you're having your clients sign, that when they're waiving all of the inspections, they also continue to waive liability off of you? Is anyone doing any kind of different anything?
Not unless we had an attorney prepare that type of language.
I didn't know if you
Yeah.
guys had ever had it in the past that you used in your,
No, we're kind
We've
of.
had the
Yeah, go ahead.
the inspection authorization form that Seth put together for us, and it specifies whether you're waiving them or not, and then also if you are electing them, who pays for them. So that would be something decent to use in that instance.
well, we use that, but I didn't know if anyone was using something that stated like, my agent Stacy Malott informed me that, it's in my best interest to have an inspection. However, I'm electing not to have the inspection just as another protection, for us. The longer we get, and it's becoming a little bit of a norm to waive the inspections, I'm just wondering, should we have something else in place that, I don't know. I was just starting to get nervous because I'm noticing even in my own offers, my verbiage to them is, I am supposed to be telling you to get this inspected. However, I also need you to know your offer will probably not be accepted if there is an inspection.
Again, you could have an attorney draw up some language for that. The authorization form that we have clearly has the box checked where they've waived it. But to be quite honest, when you're in the middle of a lawsuit, it wouldn't matter how many waivers we have, because there's waivers in the contract too. They can still sue you for anything. And, the more conversations, I mean, we would be duplicating things, but it's another waiver. But I mean, you certainly could have something put in writing for that. I just don't know that
And I don't know that I personally want to. It started to creep in the back of my mind. And since I wasn't sure if you guys had something created over the years that I was not aware of.
Are you familiar with that form that we're talking about that has and they would have to literally check off that they're waiving it and signing it, so.
Yes, and we do use that on every deal for the buyers.
But it doesn't have any sort of indemnification, I don't think, in it for that they're never going to sue.
It basically, Tim, repeats the verbiage in the contract that the utilities will have to be on and stuff like that. That was created years ago, but that form is probably very important to use, more so if the client actually picks an inspection, so that we know who pays for what, especially if they have a water test or a septic hydraulic load test, especially now that after we went through the contract, and it clearly states now that the seller is actually responsible for obtaining the water. That's where you can actually negotiate it. So,
yeah. And I think, Kong, with that form at the top of it, we had suggested 3 different inspectors so that they could pick an inspector, not having us pick an inspector, because that's also for those that are having inspections done, it's important that we don't pick the inspector. We give them the options to pick the inspector.
right.
So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens, because if the market pauses a little bit, inventory could increase slightly, and that could change whether or not every deal is negotiated the way it is now or not. I mean, we'll just have to see what's going to happen here with this rise in the interest rates, if there's going to be a pause. I didn't get my numbers from Seth, but so far with the rise in the interest rate the last couple of weeks, last week we had 26 deals in 1 week, and the week before we had 31, and the week before that we had 26. So anytime we're doing 25 or more, I look at it for the last 2 years that we've been level and things are going good. If we see that number starting to drop, then I'll let you guys know, and that'll be an indication of that. That's how I judge what's happening with the market as to whether or not our agency's business is staying steady or not. I will say this, that we are a strong listing office. So by having a strong listing company, you know, we're staying steady because our listings are selling. If we were a strong buyer agency, you know, company, then you would obviously see difficulties right now, because you could be one of 20 offers that don't get approved or accepted. So, but good job, Brooks. If anybody else have anything they'd like to add, any questions they'd like to go over?
Tim, I'd just like to thank anybody that was involved with bringing this to our attention, because I feel this is a huge benefit to us, and I thank you guys for that.
Okay, good, good. So hopefully we can encourage everybody that didn't get on this call today. I know we had a pretty good sized crowd, but to watch this video, and then that way they can learn more about the Seller Shield and go from there.
Yeah, so also the company itself offers workshops and different webinars that you can get on and speak to them directly too about it, the ins and outs of their software. So I would encourage you guys, and I'll put that information in the recap email so that you have access to it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, and hopefully everybody has a great week.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.